Observations, humorous and otherwise, from a life on the range. I do expect a round of applause when I finish the title. Thank you. I appreciate it. I have been referred to by myself and sometimes others as the Poet Laureate of the West. And I am here tonight to share with you some of the wit and wisdom of the West that I am so celebrated for collecting and chronicling. But before I do, folks, I just want to apologize if I seem a bit rattled tonight. As you may know, if you've heard me or seen me talk, not only am I one of the nation's most celebrated cowboy poets, I am also plagued by vampires. And also mummies. And I have recently become deeply concerned about creatures from the Black Lagoon, as well as Jersey Devils. Terribly concerned about them. The point is, folks, I am hyper-vigilant about monsters. And that is how it came to be that on my way here tonight, I spotted an invisible man. It's true, folks. I was walking here from your railroad under the ground. And I was momentarily distracted by an anti-gun bumper sticker on a car. I was having a debate with the girl, I assume, who drives that car. In my own head, saying to myself, one brush with a werewolf would change your mind right quick, sweetheart. But it was because I was thinking that in my head that I was not fully vigilant of my surroundings. And so out of the corner of my eye, all of a sudden down an alleyway, I saw a cigarette being lifted through the air by a hand, connected to a man in a pair of jeans and a nice coat. And I says to myself, God damn it. That's an invisible man disguised as a visible man. And this disguise was fucking perfect. I'm talking about highly movable latex rubber face masks, glass eyes that move just like real eyes, and the beard that had to be made of human hair. I knew I was dealing with a real motherfucker. And so I pulled my 6 guns. And I said, "Are you an invisible man?" And he basically confirmed it by saying one of the few things that a monster always says when asked directly if they are a monster. He says, "What are you talking about? Is that a gun?" Spoken like a true invisible man. Well, I did what had to be done, and let's just say you won't not be seeing him anymore. Stupid invisible man. Well, folks, that's just a little something that happened, and I'm glad I got that out of the way. Now I'd like to tell you a story. A true story from my life on the range. Something that happened this past week. Would you like to hear a true story from a life on the range? This here is a story about an old salt-of-the-earth cowboy named Lester Carlisle. Lester Carlisle. Everybody within 100 miles of where I live has a fine opinion of this old man. He's a wonderful old cowboy. He's getting on in years and slowing down a bit, but he's always quick with a grin or an old cowboy song or a great story about the golden age of the cattle drive, when cowboying meant something. He's real good at throwing back whiskey shots and taking punches to the gut. I ought to know. And so it made all of us heartsick to learn that Lester Cowboy's best horse had taken ill. Her name was Lady Horse. Because although a horse, she was a lady. The vet said she was in a lot of pain, but Lester didn't want to do what needed to be done. He just bit his lip and he said, "Boys, I wish I didn't have to put her down. I wish she could just walk into the sunset one last time." Well, that sounded good to me. So I hatched a little plan to see to it the lady horse could pass away just as the sun was dipping down. Let her go into that eternal horse night just at the break of night. But how to time it just so? Well, I happen to have a ranch hand named Troy, a.k.a. Seven Fingers, who was a munitions expert in the service. So here's what we did. We strapped 28 sticks of dynamite around Lady Horse's torso. And we wired it to a timer to go off at exactly 5:39 p.m., the precise moment of sunset. Because that's what friends do. That afternoon, we sat down on Lester Carlisle's back porch, knocked back a few whiskey shots as we watched Lady Horse wander around the pasture. 28 sticks of dynamite strapped around her torso, hidden underneath her saddle blanket. And we didn't whisper a word about it to Lester because I know he would have said, "Boys, don't go to all the trouble." We sat there and watched as that old horse wandered out to a favorite shady tree and was joined by Lester's best dog, Lady Dog. They stood real close to one another for a while there as the shadows grew long. We started draining that bottle of whiskey and trading punches to the gut. And after a while, Lady Horse and Lady Dog wandered out across a lilac patch to where Lester keeps his 1,000-gallon propane tank, which was being worked on by Lester's brothers, Neil and Cody. Lady Horse and Lady Dog lingered there just about until the sun dipped below the horizon. Folks, that explosion smashed windows for 5 miles around. It knocked Lester unconscious and made me temporarily deaf, and somehow Seven Fingers lost 2 more fingers. But it was a beautiful way for a magnificent horse to go out. Now, when Lester came to, he didn't say a word to me or Five Fingers. But he didn't have to. The thank you was implied. Matter of fact, he hasn't said a word to anybody since then. He just stares boldly into the future, knowing that although he has lost one friend, he is surrounded by many others. And I have reason to believe that Neil and Cody were mummies. Well, anyway, folks. That's just a cute story about something that happened on the range. Now I'd like to read you a couple of poems with your kind indulgence. They're surprisingly tolerable for a city slicker. This is my most beloved poem. It is called That Lonesome Cowboy. A cowboy is a lonesome man. There's none more lonesome in all the land. He rides atop his only friend, his horse, a companion on whom he can depend. His woman may be miles behind him, sadness and desperation may find him. But a cowboy who's wise will turn to the earth to lend him solace and even mirth. He'll dig a hole with cracked, scorched hands, pour in all the water that hole demands, until that hole is moist. Just right. The earth will never put up any kind of a fight. His cries of joy no one will hear. In case I am not being clear, I'm saying that cowboy is gonna fuck a hole in the ground. We all do it, that's what I've found. Any cowboy that knows that lonesome hell can fashion a land Virginia well. If a cowboy's seed worked like other seeds, there'd be cowboys growing everywhere across the plains like weeds. Now, all art is open to interpretation. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's a poem about fucking a hole in the ground. I don't know how you would do it here in Boston. Probably have to settle for a pothole in the road, and I don't recommend it. I'd like to read you another poem. This one's a true story, which is the only kind of poem a true cowboy will write. This one is called I one time killed a Frankenstein. I one time killed a Frankenstein whilst shopping in a store. He lurched toward me, arms outstretched as I ambled toward the door. In my hands a new bandana, a hat 10 gallons deep. In my body was a soul which my body aimed to keep. His voice was ghastly as he spoke in halting monster speech. And I tried with all my might to stay out of his reach. He said, "You gotta pay for that." And filled my heart with dread. And then I drew my 6 gun and I shot the monster dead. The news reports describe the monster simply as a man, to keep from terrifying folks as only a Frankenstein can. Thank you, folks. The sheriff wants to talk to me about that one, which is why I am in Boston. Now, that's all the time I have time for, folks, but I just want to say one last old fuck you. I want to say one last thing. Before I go, if anybody out there is a monster, I want to tell you right now, my 6 guns are full of silver bullets. I keep a stick of wood down my pant leg. And I can tell you're an invisible man just by looking at you. Don't fuck with me! You will never get the better of one of these confrontations. I'm Dalton Wilcox, cowboy, poet of the West!